We all know that in Lekutei Sichos, the Rebbe was medayik that things should be very clear. So I want to give an example. In Lekutei Sichos, Chelik Yud Aleph, the second Sicha to Parsha Yisrei, in page 81, the Rebbe brings the Tzemach Tzedek from Eir HaTorah, where he speaks about why is it that mideraisa on Shabbos you can't do a melocha, you can't do a maise, you can't do an act that's forbidden. But dibur, to say things which are weekday things, mideraisa you're allowed. Even though the reason we rest on Shabbos is because Hashem rested from dibur. Hashem created the world through speaking. So when he rested on Shabbat, he rested from Dibur. So how come we don't have to rest midaraisa from the Torah? We don't have to rest from Dibur. So the Tzemach Tzedek says like this: because by the Eibush that his Dibur made a maise. When he spoke, that made an act that created the world. So therefore, he rested from that Dibur which made a maise. We also have to rest from a maise, but we don't have to rest from our Dibur, from our speech, because our speech doesn't do a maise. Our speech doesn't do an act. Therefore, we don't have to rest midaraisa. Then the Tzemach Tzedek continues, "V'afal pikein b'divrei Kabbalah nemer," but still in Tanakh it says the posik v'daber dover that Shabbos we have to stay away from weekday talk. So the Tzemach Tzedek says why? Because after all, lepel mamash Hashem rested from speech, because He rested from creating the world, which He rested from speech. That's why divrei Kabbalah, which is Tanakh, midirabanan, you also have to rest from speech. And he quotes the Yerushalmi where it says, Hu shavas mimaimer, he rested from speech. Afata shveis mimaimer, you also rest from speech. Now we know that the Rebbe wanted that the simple Maramekaymis references should be written by the people who wrote the Sichos. So here when it quoted the Tzemach Tzedek in the Torah, so there was the Maramekaymis that was written was that this is Shmeis Krach Zayin in Eir HaTorah Shmeis, the 7th volume, the end of Amit Beis Tovshin Beis Ve'elech. And then it also said amongst, by the Maramekaymis here, Urei Eir HaTorah Breishi is Amit 50 Ba'agoa. And also look in Eir HaTorah Breishi is Amit 50, page 15 the Agoa. That was this number. And then it also said, when it says, quoted from the Tzemach Tzedek, that he said that the reason why miderabona, midivrei Kabbalah, we have to rest also from speech, is because after all, Hashem rested from his speech. Because the way He'll carry the world to speech, so also therefore from Medir Rabbanon we also have to rest from speech. So as part of the Maramekaymis, what was written was like this: as a ha'ara, ba'eir ha'teira breishi shom esayim, that in Eir HaTorah Breishis, which was one of the references the Maramekaymis that was written before, he finishes off and he says these words: Rak medivre seifrim hu shalei the buruch shal Shabbos ke the buruch shal Chayil. But it's midrabanon that your speech of Shabbos should not be the same speech as Chayil. And this was written as a number, as a ha'ora, to where it says in Eir HaTorah Shmeis, at the Rebbe quoted, that medivre Kabbalah you have to rest from Dibur also. So on that, the Rebbe wrote, Harei ein ze hanam never bifnim. The Rebbe wrote, this is not what it says in the Sicha itself. In the Sicha where he quotes from the Tzemach Tzedek, this is not what it says. Because the way this ha'ara was written, this Maramekayim was written, it seems that it was saying that what it says in Eir HaTorah Breishis is the same thing what it says in Eir HaTorah Shmeis. In Eir HaTorah Shmeis it says the reason midrabanan you have to rest from Dibur, because after all, Lepel Mamish Hashem rested from Dibur. So when it quotes Eir HaTorah Breishis, that it finishes midrabanan, you have to rest from Dibur because your Dibur of Shabbos should not be like the Dibur of Chayil, seems to be the same thing. Because that's what it said in the bottom. Eir HaTorah Breishis Shom Esayim, there he finishes up like this. And the Rebbe says it's not the same thing. But Pashtas it means in Eir HaTorah that he quotes in the Pnim in the Sicha, it says the reason midrabanan you have to rest from Dibur, because Lepel Mamish, the Eibush rested from Dibur. Even though there is a difference, his Dibur made a Maise, our Dibur don't, but Lepel it was Dibur, so he had to do it. What it says in Eir HaTorah Breishis is a different word. They made it also because they didn't want that speech of Shabbos should be the same speech as the weekdays. So how could you write that as a Hemshech or a Maramokim, a Hemshech to what it says in the Pnim? So all the Rebbe did, he added 2 words. And he underlined it. That in Eir HaTorah Breishis, he finishes off the reason why we have to rest from Dibur in a different way than it says the other place. In the Pnim and the Sicha brings from the Tzemach Tzedek Shmeis that the reason is because after all Hashem rested from Dibur. And in Eir HaTorah Breishis, the Rebbe says it's a different pshat, it's a different reason. The reason is because the Chachamim didn't want that your Dibur on Shabbos should be the same Dibur on Chayil. So here we see that with one word or 2 words in the Rosh Tevis and line under it makes a complete different pshat. And the Rebbe was medayik, that it should say clearly Be'ef Nachar to show that you shouldn't think that what it says here from Bereshis is the exact same thing it says in the Pnim. So the Rebbe added the word Be'ef Nachar, and with that one word he made it very clear, because the Rebbe wanted everything should be clear.